Great. So welcome to the General Conference Orientation webinar. I'm going to spotlight myself so you can see me bigger. We have so many people in here, it's easy to lose track of folks. If you prefer to look at everyone else instead, though, see everyone's reactions to the things I'm saying, you can always go to the gallery view whenever you want to. It's in the upper right-hand corner of your Zoom screen. I think you're probably all Zoom experts at this point in our pandemic, but if not, that's how you change the view. So if you'd rather see something else and not me or Mike or the thing that we're sharing, you can always go to the gallery view. If you're just joining us, you're welcome to put your name, your pronouns, where you're at in the world, all that kind of thing in the chat. You can say what you're excited about. If you have any questions, you can also throw them in there. We have a lot of people here today, which is fantastic. So if we miss your question, just ask it again. We're going to go through the following things today. We're going to go through the schedule so you can have a little sense of what to expect. Hopefully you've seen that. We're going to put all of the links to everything that we're talking about in the chat or show you how to navigate there on your own. So all of this information you can access at another time, so you don't have to worry about taking, furious notes or anything like that while we're talking today. So we'll go through the schedule, the highlights of that using the website, which puts everything in time zones so you can more easily see what a good time might be based on where you are in the world. We're going to teach you how to open the app. If you haven't already, maybe you can put a little thumbs up reaction if you've already opened the app in a browser or downloaded it, just so we can see how many people have already accessed that. It's great. Seeing lots of thumbs up. Awesome. So we'll show you that and give you a little orientation to some of the things to look for when you join us in that app. We're going to talk about worship. If some of you are planning or participating in streaming parties, we have some good information for you. Hopefully you've seen some of it, but we're going to run through some of that briefly too and talk about worship in general. So whether you're worshiping like this in some sort of room and you're on your own, or if you're with other people, you can know what to plan for each service. We're going to talk a little bit about streaming parties and show off our toolkit that we made for those. We'll talk just a brief moment about our business meeting and then take any questions of things that we didn't explain well or you have questions about that we didn't cover. Does that sound good for everyone? If you want to put just a thumbs up in your reactions, that's great. Or in your camera too, that's great. Grateful for all of you being here today. As we present things, if there are questions about that topic that you have, feel free to put them in the chat and we'll do our best to be able to read those out loud and answer them as we're able. Off to you, Mike.
So I'm sure many of you are already familiar with the General Conference website, but if you're not, here's kind of what it looks like. And the website is full of lots of information about General Conference. One of the things that we want to talk about is the schedule. And as Lauren said, on the website, if you go to the schedule, things are happening at different time zones. And so you're able to find your time zone here. And then if you click on it, it will bring you to the things in your time zone. As you look at the schedule, there's kind of 4 groupings of things that are happening. One of those is our elders are sponsoring devotional time and small group times and things like that. So there's going to be those sorts of things that are happening. They sort of happen at the beginning and the end of the day if there's not a worship or service or something else happening. And so those are happening throughout the schedule. And then there are 3 worship services, one on each day. And so you can see where they are. Now, one thing about the schedule on the web, we will not be updating it as we go along. We can't possibly keep all the information every place. So the most updated schedule will be in Whova, which is our conference platform that has all our information in it. So if you're looking for the latest or any changes, refer back to Whova. But this at least gives you an opportunity to see at a glance what might be happening on the days. Again, for those in the US, conference is on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. For people outside the US, it's mostly on your Saturday and Sunday. There are not things on Friday for people outside the US. Lauren? I'm going to go back to Eastern time zone.
Yeah, great. So we also want to talk a little bit about plenaries. So Mike has it pulled up. This is Eastern time zone, like you mentioned. So we have 5 plenaries. Plenaries are really like our keynote presentations. It usually features one presenter or one topic. So if you're unfamiliar with the word plenary, it's kind of an inclusive word to mean a presentation that includes a lot of it's a kind of an encompassing word to talk about all of the main kind of presentations. Sorry, I got a little distracted when we went to a different place. So Mike is showing you some of the bios of our keynote presenters. They're listed in alphabetical order. And on the schedule, you'll see that they're also bolded like the worship services are, so you can more easily identify when they are. Most of our keynote presentations are going to be live, and they'll also be streamed out to YouTube. And so most of us will be interacting in the chat in YouTube. We'll be able to ask questions of the presenters and that sort of thing through the chat feature in Whova or the chat feature in YouTube. And so it'll be a really easy way for us all to interact with each other. We'll also have people who are monitoring those chats who are in the same places where the presenter is, where we're broadcasting the presenters from and the other people in those plenaries. And so things, comments, questions that you have from any of those places will be delivered so that the keynote presenter or presenters can see what you're asking and what you're thinking about. Some of our presenters are multilingual, and so for some of our presentations, there might be a link for people to be able to access in another language, such as Angel speaks Spanish, and so there'll be a Spanish recording of that, and Claudio speaks Portuguese, so there'll be a Portuguese recording of that, and so we're hopeful that that will help folks to be able to access these great plenaries also. Everything will be closed captioned, much like this meeting is right now in Zoom, though using the technology from YouTube. So we're really excited about being able to do it this way and looking forward to experimenting a little bit with plenaries done this way. We also wanted to talk to you a little bit about workshops. So Mike is going to navigate to where you can see the schedule of, or not the schedule, but the listing of all the workshops. These workshops are listed in alphabetical order. Something about the workshops this time is that they've all been pre-recorded. We did that to help ease everybody's sort of way of navigating the conference. We have about 20 workshops on all different kinds of subjects. So things that will pertain to your own personal spiritual life, things that might be more important for your church, things that are just good things to think about and some food for thought. All of these workshops will be available through the app at any time. And so you can watch them at any time that you want to, but we have suggested certain times to watch workshops within the schedule in Whova. So not the schedule online, but the schedule in Whova. And so you can see those if you want to interact in community with other people at the same time watching those workshops. I think that's it for that.
Yeah, I forgot to mention, some people have asked about worship. Worship will be live streamed through Facebook Live. So those who are registered for General Conference will be able to access it through the Whova app. If they are not, or through YouTube, and if they are not registered, it will go live on the MCC denominational Facebook page, and we will also have a YouTube link for people to access it. So anybody can attend any of the worship services. They don't need to be registered. And so the 3 worship services, other people in your congregation or so on will be able to watch those services. If you are registered for General Conference, yesterday you should have received an email from Lauren and I inviting you to go look at the Whova app. And so hopefully you've had a chance to do that. When you, in that email, there is a link where you are able to either download the app onto a mobile device or to view it in a web browser. The staff, the MCC staff, looked at the app and tested it out a week or so ago, and their recommendation was to use the app, use the browser version of it, which is what I'm showing you right now, because it was much easier to maneuver around. And so what you're seeing on the screen is the browser version of it. And I just want to walk through some areas of the app once you sign into it. As Lauren also said, you need to sign in with the email address that you registered using, and that is in the email that was sent out to you. You may need to have a password or set up a password, kind of set up an account, but then you'll be able to get into it. Once you're in the app, if you need some help, there are some guides here, and this attendee guide is a really good one to look at. And so if you need some help, that's one place to do it. Those people that are not in Eastern time zone will have an option to switch to their local time, which mine is right now in my local time, and I'm in Central time zone. Or I can switch it to the event time, which would be in Eastern time zone. If you are in Eastern time zone, you don't have this because you can't switch to the event time because you're already in the event time. So that button will not be there for you. On the home page, you'll be able to see some of our sponsors. There are many more sponsors. We just don't have them loaded into the app yet. And so they're not all in Whova right now. On the left side of the screen, you can see that here is the agenda. The agenda is basically the schedule. We use the word schedule, but they use the word agenda. And as you look at the top, you can see this is the stuff on Friday. If I click here, here's the stuff on Saturday. If I click here, here's the stuff on Sunday. And then all these items are listed here. Everything happens at least twice for the different time zones. So you're going to see things that look like they're good for you to watch, and then you're going to see things probably in the middle of the night, wherever you are, for the people on the other side of the world. So just be aware about that. If you want to read about what these are, you can click View Session, or if you want to add it to just your agenda, you can click Add to My Agenda. If you want to participate in this, when I click on this and view this session, first of all, it tells me who might be doing what and what the session might be about. Once we put the links for everything, they will also be on this screen. You will be able to just click on this screen and you will be able to see, it'll bring you right to the event, whether it's happening in Zoom or whether it's happening in YouTube or wherever it's happening. This is the page that you will click on. You will also notice that off on the right side, there's a Q&A where you can ask questions. There are polls that could happen during a workshop or during some of the events. And then here's also the chat area. So you're able to chat with other people that are in this session with you. And we're encouraging you to use the Whova chat as opposed to going to YouTube and using the YouTube chat. They will be separate chats. They will not talk to one another. So people that are chatting in YouTube will only see the YouTube chat. People that are chatting in Whova will only see the Whova chat. And we're strongly recommending that you stay in the Whova app and use the chat, which is here on the right side of the screen. And then the community, these are, I'll get to these in a second because they're also on the left side of the screen, but this is where question and answer is, polls are, and chat is, and that's for whatever session you are in. So every session is going to have different question and answer, different polls, and different chat. And so depending on what session you're in. If I click back on sessions, there again, then I can just scroll and see all of the things. As Lauren mentioned, we do have like a workshop time block on what you're looking at is from 2 to 3. And we have suggested, here are 3 suggested workshops that you might want to join, where there will probably be other people joining it at the same time. So there can be chat and so on. But really, you could go and watch the workshops at any time or any other workshops during this time frame of 2 to 3 on this particular schedule that we're looking at. So I invite you to kind of go through the agenda and pick things that you want to see, and kind of click and add them to your agenda. There's also a page of all the speakers that you can see, and you'll notice also there will be some bios and some not, but where they're speaking, and you can click on that if you want to go and see and read more about it. As I mentioned, everything is happening twice, so you will see two things that are the same because everything is happening twice. The next thing on the left side of the screen is the attendees. You are able to see all the attendees just like you would in the hallway, just like you would in a big ballroom if we were in person, and you can send them messages. If I wanted to send Reverend Kathy Alexander a message, I can click on it here. I can type anything in this box and I can send that to Kathy and she'll get it. And so you can private chat with people and find out information about people. You personally can also go in and change whatever it might say here. It is sometimes picking up some of your information from other social media accounts that you have. So if you click on your profile and there's all kinds of information in there, we didn't add it in there. All we did was add your name and your email, and it went and pulled it from all kinds of other places. If you do want to modify your profile, on the right side of your screen, there's my profile, and you can go there and modify your profile that might be out there. So you can change whatever might be there, but we did not add everything that's there. So please don't yell at us because we didn't control any of that. It's just all there. The next section, I'm back on the left side of the screen. There is the community section. This is really also where you can interact with other people. You can ask the organizers anything. So if you're having a question, you can ask that. You can schedule or attend various meetups. So there might be groups that are meeting together. And so these would be where you could join a meetup group. The accessibility group is going to meet at some point, and some of our people in Latin America are going to meet at some point. And so you could join some of those and there will be more going on. If we have any announcements, they will be in this organizers announcement section. There may be a time where we send out like a push notification, or like on any other app where you get notified. Maybe something is running behind and we're going to start 15 minutes late. We will send you a notification through the app. You'll get it on your screen or on your mobile device, but it's only there for about 10 seconds and then it disappears. And so if you want to go see what was that just flashed on my screen, you'll go to community and then to organizer announcements, and that's where you'll be able to read them. This is also where all of our kinship groups are listed. And so if you want to interact with other people in any of these kinship groups, these are open chats. So you can just click on them and anybody can chat and anybody can talk. Please know that anything you put in these will be seen by other people. And so there is kind of a disclaimer here about that. And so just be aware you can't like private put things in these, but there is some information and you know, it'll be good if you want to interact with those people. Some of these groups will have meetups that will happen as well. So the community area is a great place to interact with other people. The messages are really messages just for you. If people have sent you messages, they would appear in that messages area. So you can go and see, I apparently have 2 unread messages. The photo area is also a fun place. If you have previous photos from any general conference, you can upload them here and people can see them. And so we want you to do that. We want to see all these fun photos. Maybe while you're sitting at home watching, you can have somebody take a picture of you watching and you can post it so that others can see this is where you are watching this from. Or if you're at a streaming party, take a picture of that, your streaming party, and upload it so others can see that. So lots of fun things that can happen there. Our sponsors are all listed here again. And so you'll be able to see our sponsors and our exhibitors and learn more information by clicking on any of these. Again, there's some that are not in here yet. They are not fully in here. The leaderboard is just kind of a fun thing. Who's participating the most on our app right now? Looks like Stedney is. She's got 21,000 points. So the more things that you do on the app, the more that you, the more points that you get. And perhaps after general conference, we might award some prizes to people. Maybe you'll get a free t-shirt in the mail from us, or maybe you'll get a free registration for the next general conference. And so we encourage you to interact, because there may be some prizes out there for some people to do those sorts of things. The last one is resources. I'm back on the left side of the screen. This is session question Q&A. This is all the different sessions and what questions that I showed you earlier. That's where you'd find them. There's a video gallery where we could upload some videos if we need to. There's a help section. If you are just can't figure out the app and you need help, there are people to help you. First of all, refer to the Whova attendee guide that I showed you, or send an email to gcsupport@mccchurch.net, and almost 24/7, somebody will be monitoring that email and will be able to get a hold of you. If you do that, please make sure that you tell us if you're using a computer or a mobile device. Are you using a Mac or a PC? Are you using an iPhone or an Android? And what you're trying to do and what's not working for you. That will really help speed up the help that we can give to you. They are all volunteers that are checking this. And so be a little patient if it takes a bit, but truly there will be somebody there almost 24/7 monitoring that email. So feel free to click help if you need help. Collecting offerings is a little bit different. Normally we would collect offerings during the worship service, and while we will still be having a time for offerings, you can give offerings through the app, and there are some funds here that we have selected to give money to that for this general conference. And so back in the Whova app, if you click on offerings, that's where you can give an offering to those different organizations. This workshops one basically takes you back to the same page that I already showed you on the website, with a listing of all the workshops. And so if you want to see a full listing of everything in a different way, that will get you there. These are the polls that may or may not happen. And then here is those Whova guides again. They're the same as what's up on the top. So the app is really convenient. I again encourage people to use the web version, but if you have to use the mobile version, here's what the mobile version looks like. This is the home page of the mobile version, and these are the resources that I just went through. And down at the bottom, there are various tabs that you would click on to see what you want to see. And so the first one would be the agenda. That's how you'd get to the agenda. The next one down there, oops, sorry, this is an old one, so it's populating all kinds of things. But here's where the attendees would be, the community board, and the messages. So it's a little different. It's a little small if you're watching a video on here, but certainly you can access it. It was not recommended by the staff to utilize the app on a mobile device if you didn't need to. They strongly recommended that you watch it on a browser version. Was there any questions that came through the chat while I spoke quickly
Yeah,
through
there
all
were a
that?
couple of questions. One of them was about what you were just talking about. You can open the app on the web version and on your mobile version at the same time. You can only play a video in one of those locations, though. You can't do it in both. And so some of the staff during our trial was, looking at messages on their mobile version on the app, and were watching the video on their web version. So they were using both of those things, but using them in a different way. And so that's a great way of doing that. Like Mike said, I just want to reiterate that the chat feature on Whova is fantastic, and we're really encouraging you to use that instead of YouTube. And there's ways to put in questions. So if you have a question that's for the presenter or something like that, it more easily allows us to share that. We can even ask polls in the middle of a session or something like that too. And you'll see all of that in the Whova app part, but you wouldn't see that if you clicked onto the YouTube and just watched on YouTube. I hope that makes some sense. There was another question.
I saw Marie's question about putting the link in. I can put a link in, but really it's better if you use the email that I sent to you, because it sort of will embed your email address and will get you easier into the browser version of it. So look for the email, and in there it says access Whova. And when you click on a big button, then when you get to that page, it will have a spot. I should have brought it up. Maybe I can still get it up. But that's the easiest way to get to the Whova app, is through that. Marie, I can try to resend you the email as well. And the email was sent to whatever email address you registered using.
And if anyone has problems with that, you can email the GC conferences at mccchurch.net address. I'll put that in the chat for you. And we can help you to make sure that you know which email you registered with and that sort of thing. If you have multiple email addresses, which many of you do, that might help. Mappis, which I assume is either Cheryl or Joy, welcome, be in the room today. We will be streaming out worship to anyone. You don't have to register to come to worship, just like when we're at an in-person conference, anyone can come into the room. And so we will be sending out links. Actually, we'll put them on the conference's website, on our conference website under the worship tab, which I will introduce you to in just a moment. But we'll be putting the links there for YouTube, and you can just watch the denominational Facebook Live Facebook page, and the Facebook Live will be there. You can't schedule that part ahead of time, so we won't be putting a link out ahead of time. You can just know to go to the Facebook page on the denomination page to watch worship, or look out for that link on YouTube.
And we encourage you to get signed up and get into the app before the first event or before the first day. If you're trying to access it the morning of July 1st, you may get frustrated because it may not work and you may not get to where you want to get to. So we strongly encourage that you download the app or access the app at least starting today or in the next couple of days, which is why we released everything to you while we're still making some updates to it.
Right. So we're going to talk a little bit about worship. Worship is always a big part of General Conference, and it's the same for this. We have 3 worship services. I'm going to share with you my screen. I just left it from the schedule. It's easy to access worship from the schedule tab. So you just go down to the worship tab, and there's some information here about worship. There's a little bit about each service so you can know what to expect. I'm going to tell you a little bit about that, but you can always come back here and read more information. Our opening worship service is the big opener. It'll be multilingual. It's a really amazing service. It'll be broadcast at multiple times, so you can watch it in a time that works best for your time zone. And then the next service is the synchronous worldwide worship. For most people in the world, that's on Saturday. This service will be only one time, and it will have a heavy live component, meaning that you will be able to submit prayer requests or stories or things like that during this worship service live and see other people's reactions live. We chose this time specifically so that most people around the world can access it and not have to be awake at 3 o'clock in the morning. And so it might be an odd time for some of you to worship. And we hope that we can all just be a little open to that so that we can be together for this worship service. So this one will not be broadcast again. It will only happen live. Though if you can't watch it live, you can always watch the recording afterwards. So that will still be available. But we really want to encourage you to come to this one when it happens live, participate fully in the chat and all of that. On Sunday, there's unified closing worship. So this will also be broadcast multiple times. We also are pre-recording this service and have elements of it that will be available for your services in a local church as well. So if you want your local church to be worshiping alongside General Conference, this is a really awesome opportunity we have to all worship together with the same scripture, with a similar theme, even with the same message. message. Reverend Cecilia has pre-recorded her sermon to be able to share with everyone. So you can do it like you have in other services that she has done a pre-recorded version of. And so you can plan to show that in your local worship service. I'm going to click on this link here. It says, look at this resource to see the worship team suggestions of how to adapt this for your congregation. This is a Google Doc that is full of suggestions for Sunday morning worship for your local church. And so if you're a local church leader or want to talk to your local church leader about doing your service to be in alignment with General Conference, this will be a great link to use or share. The biggest thing about this service that you might want to think about right now is that throughout all of the worship services, but especially this one, we're inviting people to dance with ribbons. Now, I know if you're thinking right now, I'm going to be at home just like I am in my fill in the blank room in my house. I don't know if I want to dance with ribbons. I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to want to. It's going to be a super fun way to dance until just let loose. There's a link in here to buy some gymnastics ribbons if you want to go all out, or you can just use a scarf or a napkin or a light blanket, whatever is in your house already that you want to dance with, have it ready for worship for all of the services. I'm pointing it out specifically for this service because you may want to plan ahead if you're the leader of a congregation or if you're leading a streaming party and you want to be able to have everyone be able to dance with you. You might need to go to the craft store earlier than later to be able to make sure that you can have ribbons. As you'll see in here, there's every element says whether there's a downloaded video that you can download ahead of time or not. So I'm not going to go through that. That doesn't seem like a great use of our time. But if you have any questions about it, you can definitely let us know. If we don't know the answer, we'll ask someone on the worship team who will definitely know the answer. But there's lots of great liturgy in here. If you're a local church, you could either use the video or broadcast it or have local church leaders do any or all of these elements. And so we hope that this at least lifts the burden of worship planning from you, even if you're doing it local and having everyone participate live in the worship room, or if you're doing a little bit of a hybrid, using some elements that are pre-recorded and some that are live, or if you're broadcasting the entire service, that this can be a gift to you and also help unite us around the world. And so I know I'm scrolling through this rather quickly, but just wanted to show you a little bit about what is available here as a gift and as a way to bring us together. We're hoping that worship is a time where we can all really come together. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a moment and take a look at the chat a little bit, and that we can come together, especially via the chat, and share pictures of things that we're using for communion, that sort of thing. We will have communion in every worship service. So if you want to plan ahead for that now, whether you're, like I said, on your own or worshiping with other people, it's always good to plan for. So make sure to have communion elements available for each worship service. One of the things that we're doing is praying. Obviously, I know that probably sounds wild to pray during a worship service, but we want to do prayers with the people a little bit differently because we can. We're at an online international general conference. So one of the ways we're doing that is by using this thing called Padlet. I'm going to share my screen and show you what that looks like. This is Padlet. Some of you might have used this in other things. It's basically like a big virtual bulletin board. You can add pictures, you can add texts, you can even add videos on here. It's really easy to add something. You just go to the bottom right corner, click on the plus, and then you can put in your subject line. You can add pictures or anything like that using any of these little buttons, and then you can add text just underneath that. You can even choose the color if you want it to be a slightly different color. My navigation bar is in the way of me being able to show you that. There we go. You can choose a different color and have your prayer look a little bit different as well. You can respond to other people's prayer requests on here. In addition to adding your own, you can like them or love them by putting a little heart next to it, and you can add a comment if you would like to as well. And so this is a living prayer wall. It takes the place of sometimes at general conferences, we've had prayer walls where people can write prayers or put prayers into something. And so this is our version for this conference. We invite you to use whatever language you want to. So use the language that's closest to your heart. And people are invited to translate those on their own. We also have a memorial wall. Sorry for all the Zoom sharing off and on. I'm going to show that to you too, but we invite you to put images and memories of people who have passed since the last general conference here. So you can see there's already some people there. So those are some of the ways in which we will worship together and be in community together. We hope that that's helpful so that you can see a little bit more about what to expect. You can start to post a prayer right now, and everyone can see them as soon as you post them. So we're happy to take any questions that you have, and I'll put the link in for the prayer wall there. We're also going to put a post in soon with that in the app. So once you join the app, you'll be able to see how to join the prayer wall as well. It's still me. I get to talk about streaming parties now. Oh, so with the memorial wall, it's the same thing as the prayer wall. I didn't walk through it because it's the same exact way. You just add someone by clicking that plus sign on the bottom right-hand corner. Great. Pastor Joy asked, what's the deadline for giving us a short video of the congregation? So you might hopefully have seen the many emails we've asked you to record your congregation saying hello from MCC Greater St. Louis or wherever you're at. We would like those yesterday. So as soon as you can possibly get them would be absolutely fantastic. Reverend Colleen is in the chat. She is putting together that video for us. Thank you. So if you can send it as soon as possible, it doesn't have to be your whole congregation. It can just be a representation of your congregation. Maybe you have a Bible study, or some people can even come on Zoom and you can do it on Zoom. It doesn't have to be a formal everybody. It can even be, like Colleen is saying, a picture and an audio file. We're going to be using that in the opening for general conference, and we'd really love to see every single church submit something. We'll take anything, and we would just love to be able to see all of your faces, or at least a representation of your faces for that roll call video. Won't that just be really exciting to see each other? I'm really happy about that. If you're doing if you're part of a worship service and you're doing a pre-recorded part of that, just contact the organizer who asked you and get with them about any deadlines for those things. Okay, I'm going to switch gears a little bit, but feel free to keep putting your questions in the chat. I want to talk a little bit about streaming parties. If you're not doing a streaming party or anything like that, this would be a great time for a bathroom break or to get a little cup of tea before we open it up for questions. Thank you for all of those who are putting together streaming parties. We have hundreds of people who are scheduled to come to them. I was just looking at the numbers today and really excited about that. There's some great things happening. Some streaming parties look like 5 or 6 people getting together in someone's home. And some streaming parties look like renting out a hotel and having a mini kind of conference. So they're kind of all over the place. So it's not too late to plan your streaming party. If you and a few friends or your lay delegates or that kind of thing want to put together a streaming party, it does not have to be super wild and out there and complicated. It can be very simple, or it can be wild and complicated too, whatever you want. I want to show you our toolkit that we put together, which we hope will help you with planning your streaming parties. Is this the right thing? Looks like I shared the right thing. So in this toolkit, you'll see all kinds of information about streaming parties that we hope will help you. I see some people in here I think have seen it. So if you have anything that you want to say in the chat, feel free. These are all hyperlinks that bring you to another place in the document. So if you click those, it'll bring you to that. Well, this is right there. I probably should have picked a different one, but it'll bring you to that page where it starts. We've been asked this a lot. I think you probably already know this by now, but we are not expecting everyone to register for General Conference to use the Whova app and all that, who are coming to streaming parties. You can handle registration on your own. Some places are charging a fee, some are not. Some are just inviting people over to their houses, like I said, so you don't really need to register for that. We're not asking you to register from our perspective on the conference side. There is a way for you to tell us if you're doing a streaming party. There's a link up at the top here to just tell us, that you're doing it, and we can support you a little bit better if we know that you're doing one. And it'd just be great to know in general how many people are doing streaming parties and how many folks are engaging with the conference. But there's no need to pay for extra registrations or anything like that for all of your people. Of course, if you want to offer a donation to General Conference, we will gladly accept any donations, and you can do that through the offering portal that Mike showed you a little bit ago. In here, there's some tips for just general tips for streaming parties. This is a sample schedule. So we used the schedule from the General Conference website, but kind of made it to be a more in-person experience. So adding more breaks in there, making sure people are fed, that sort of thing that you would expect. So you can see the ways that we just offered some suggestions. This is by no means prescriptive. It's just a way for you to see how you can play with this schedule a little bit to make it your own. And so you can read through that. We remind you to get ribbons. Ribbons are a big thing. If you haven't already gotten ribbons, get some ribbons. It's a great, right now is a wonderful opportunity to order some ribbons or to schedule a trip to the craft store in your area. The worship ideas here are the same that are on the website that I showed you earlier. There's a few extra things in here toward the end, but otherwise it's the same information. And there's been some additions. If you got an early version of this, there's probably some things that have been added since you saw it a few weeks ago. And then there's some general technology tips. If you're putting together a streaming party and need some technological help, reach out to us as soon as you can. We're happy to give you some pointers and some guidance. Once the conference starts, you can also use the tech tip line and get some assistance that way. But any way you can mitigate any of those problems ahead of time by doing some rehearsals and practicing and that sort of thing will be really helpful, because we may not be able to answer every question for streaming parties live. We may be a little bit delayed in that. So if you need any ahead of time tips, we are happy to offer those too. I hope that helped a little bit with streaming parties. Just curious, by show of hands or thumbs or anything like that, who's planning on coming to a streaming party or hosting a streaming party in your congregation? You can use the reactions or just in the, yeah, that's great. I see your hands too in their cameras. Great. Many of you. Oh, that's so exciting. Well, I hope you can, if you're doing that, you can take lots of pictures, and if it's you and your cat also watching, please take pictures. I'm seeing lots of cats right now. It's bringing me great joy. So I would also love to see all the conference cats who are coming to conference and lots of pictures of those on Whova. So please upload those as soon as possible. That'd be great. Mike, did you notice any questions in the chat from other of those things?
Nope, I think I was answering most of them as they were going by. So
great. Do you want to speak to any of them for the recorded version later? Are there any of them that are really relevant to others, you think?
I'm not sure. We can maybe pull them out and put them in the video as well.
Yeah, that sounds great.
We've talked a lot about the transformational weekend, which is July 1st through the 3rd, but there is also the business part of our general conference, which is not July 1st through the 3rd. That will be happening separately. The business, many of you have already participated in the discussion circles, and we thank you for that. The next sort of stage will be if there are additional questions, there will be a form that will be coming out within the next day or two that you can submit questions. The business forum will be on Thursday, July 7th. And then the business meeting will be on Saturday, July 16th. And you have to register for both of those. And I'm going to put that link in the chat box. It's also on the website, the General Conference website, as well as all the business meeting documents, the agenda, and all of that are on the General Conference website. You must register separately for the business meeting from the transformational weekend. A few things that will be different with that. During the forum, it will be very limited as to where there is voice and vote going on, where there's mostly voice during the forum. The voice part of the General Conference business meeting really was the discussion circles and these questions that you can ask over the next week or so with an email that'll be coming out. There won't be much discussion during the forum, and there will be even less during the actual business meeting. And then all of the voting will happen after that. Voting will be virtual and will happen on the 18th of July. Monday, the 18th of July will be the first round. That's where you'll vote for governing board members. You'll vote on the bylaw amendments and things like that. And so make sure that you register for that. If you're looking for any of the business meeting documents, they're on the website, the General Conference website. There's a tab, business meeting, and all the documents are there in all the different languages that you might need them in. So just briefly, that's what's happening with the business meeting. I also just want to mention a couple of other things. We may have some glitches while General Conference is going on. We're in a virtual world. I'm sure all of you have prepared a Sunday morning service only to find out that Facebook has gone down or that the power has gone out where you're at. And so we're going to just ask your patience as some of that may occur. We're hoping it doesn't. We have redundant systems in place. So if one thing goes down, we can direct people to something else, but there could be some glitches. And so we're just going to ask for your patience if those happen during General Conference. Rest assured that we will give you links to everything after. So if something goes down, we will still be able to provide you with a link afterwards that you can view anything that's happening. The other thing from a user experience, if you make sure that when you're accessing things, you have good internet support and good internet connection. You'll be watching videos and things like that. And if you don't have good internet, it could start kicking you out from certain things. And so just make sure that you have a good internet connection. And we are still looking for some volunteers. There's a lot of technical things going on in the background. If you happen to be somebody who likes doing some of those things and would like to volunteer and help us monitor a chat or monitor something or help with some way with tech, that email address that I put out there, maybe you would like to help us monitor that and help people. We're still looking for that. If you can email the email address that Lauren put in the chat box, conferences@mccchurch.net. That's one way that you can volunteer with this General Conference instead of the hospitality booth or the registration or some of the other areas that people have volunteered in the past. If you're willing to do that, we're still looking for volunteers for that. I think now, are there any other questions that people have about the app, about the conference, about anything?
Yeah, Reverend Marie asked if it's, oh wait, just kidding.
It's Joan.
Joan, there's another question there too. Asked about poor internet connection, will it be possible for you to record closing worship and playback later in the day? Of course, anything once it's broadcast the first time can be played later at another time. You can just download that and play it. So you're welcome to do that. You don't even have to record it. It'll just be available. So you can download the video and play it in another way.
And Marie, you asked a question about registration. No, there isn't separate registration for the business meeting and business forum. There is separate registration from the transformational weekend and all of the business things. So all the business things, you just register once for that.
I just want to say that this whole conference is a giant experiment. So in the way that some things may or may not have glitches, some things may or may not just work. Some of them might be great and we might want to always do them. And some of them might be terrible ideas that really just flopped. And so, you know, as you've experienced conference, just know that this is all an experiment. We, you know, made all of this up, informed, we researched and, you know, talked to other people who have done this before with online conferences. But, you know, we are just really grateful for the huge amount of support for this enormous experiment. We are thankful for your patience as we've tried to figure it out. And we're really looking forward to continuing to co-create this experience with you as participants, as volunteers, as churches, as streaming parties. And so be in touch with us throughout the conference. You can message us through the app, you can email us, you can like each other's posts and prayers and just be in community with each other. So thank you for just all of that. And also be gracious.
Orville, I see your question in there. None of the business meeting stuff will use the Whova app, although we may put some links in there, but for the most part, that's going to be done through Zoom and different links that will be emailed to you. And just be aware, the business meeting is going to happen in 4 Zoom rooms at the same time because we have different houses. So clergy will join one Zoom link, which will be different from the lay delegates, which will join another Zoom link. And so all that will come out in an email, but clergy, do not forward the email that's sent to you to your lay delegates because they will be joining a different Zoom link. And so there will be different rooms for the business meeting. And then those who just want to watch it will be able to watch it through another Zoom room. Again, because of some of the voice and vote issues that we have in our bylaws, clergy have to all be in one room so that there can be some voting that happens there. Lay can be in one room so some voting can happen there. And those who don't have voice or vote will be in another Zoom room. We are not planning to stream the business meeting to any place else publicly. And so people who want to watch the business meeting have to register. Even if they don't have voice and vote, they can still register and then they will receive a link to watch it. But we will not be putting it out any place beyond that. Everybody has to register to access the business meeting. I think, and the worship services, sorry, the worship services will go to Facebook Live. So if people want to watch that and they're not registered, again, direct them to the MCC, the denominational Facebook page, like that page, and then you'll get alerted when things go live.
That's right. And you can also look at the worship page and we'll put the YouTube link on the worship page from the General Conference website. So those are 2 ways to get those worship links. Someone asked, I think it was Joan again, good questions in here, Joan, about clergy and lay houses, if they're going to both be synchronous. They are synchronous. So there won't be a separate time for clergy and a separate time for lay. They will be at the same time, just in 2 different rooms. And that content will be shared across each other. It's amazing the things that we can do with Zoom and other technologies. So you won't be missing something that's happening in one room that won't be in another. Everything will be shared. So you don't have to worry about that either, which is also a big experiment. So definitely have some snacks for the business meeting as we try to work on all this. Obviously, we're doing lots and lots of testing, but snacks will be a great friend to you as technology sometimes can be frustrating.
Marie, your question about how long the business forum and the business meeting will be. We have 3 hours planned and with a slight break in the middle, but it's planned for 3 hours right now.
Any other questions, comments? If it's easier for you to speak and open your microphone, you are welcome to do that. If you could just raise your hand, we'll call on you. That'll be a little bit easier for us to manage that. If this was really fast, we did record this and we'll post it shortly so you can rewatch it if that helps. Yeah, Colleen put a suggestion or a really idea suggestion in the chat too, that just because clergy and laity will be in different rooms during the business meeting, you could still be in the same physical room, even though you'll be in different virtual rooms. That's definitely an option. That'll help with the snacking too. Well, we will hold the space for a few minutes just to make sure everybody has their questions answered and all of that, but you are free to go about the rest of your day. We're so grateful that you were here, and we pray that your hearts will be open to the transformational experience that will be General Conference Online. Thank you so, so much for being here and for all of your support and everything as we go into this General Conference.
We'll see you all in a little over a week.
Yes.
Feel free to keep putting a question in the chat box if we happen to miss it, or if you have another question, we'll just hang out and answer them.
I just saw a hand too. It moved around a little bit. Yeah, go ahead, Mark. Hey, Mark.
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
I was trying to find the Whova website, and whova.com doesn't look like that's it.
No, Mark, for those who have registered, you should have received an email yesterday from us that gives you all the instructions of how to access the Whova app. It's only for people who have registered, and you have to use the email address that you used when registering in order to access the app.
The app I've got, it was to, you said we could use the website, a web browser, as well as.
Yeah. So in that email, again, that was sent out, that would have a link to how to access it on the web browser.
Thanks.
Yeah, if you have trouble, Mark, just shoot us an email and I can guide you through that as well. Just send an email to conferences@mccchurch.net and I can guide you through if you're still having trouble.
Great, thank you.
You bet.
I just saw in the chat. Yeah, everything is virtual, Kathy. So the only people, there'll be a small tech team together in St. Louis, just to make sure we can cross communicate more easily. But other than that, everyone will be presenting or participating virtually. The only exception to that are people who are participating in streaming parties. Those are in-person gatherings in different places around the world, and those folks will participate in person. But other than that, everything is virtual. And if anyone's interested in participating in a streaming party and you haven't already signed up for one, or you want to know if there's one in your area, just email us and we're happy to tell you if there's one in your area or not already put together.
Alejandro, yeah, anybody who continues to register, the information will be sent out once they register.
And John, it's fine if people are in your physical space wanting to listen in. That's totally fine. Yeah, Kathy, we have no idea, honestly, if we have more people who are participating in this because there's no travel involved or not. We are sort of anecdotally seeing more first-time visitors, and we're seeing people from outside of the United States who are able to participate more fully. We usually have a very small number of people who are able to come, and it looks like there's more folks who are able to come based on registration. It also seems like streaming parties are helping people to access conference for the first time, and like little elements of conference for the first time that they wouldn't have accessed otherwise. So we're really excited to hear feedback after the conference about like how that was received with folks and that sort of thing, to really also help inform us on how to go forward. Maybe this is part of what the future of conference will be, might be some locally streamed things too. I'm really not sure, but this is like we've said, a big experiment, and I'm sure we'll learn a lot from it. And part of that will definitely be in, you know, if more people participated or if less people participated or that sort of thing. It's just a little bit hard to tell so far. I will say we hit our goal for registration, which is fantastic. So that is always great to hit some goals. So that feels good. And all of that is because of you all saying yes to coming on this and trying it out with us. So thank you. Anyone else want to say anything or have any questions? feels like we need a thing to move us forward. Then I wonder if Elder Maxwell, I'm totally putting you on the spot, wouldn't mind praying for us though as we go about the rest of our days or nights.
Best unmute for that then.
That would be helpful.
Okay, let us join in prayer. God of many names, we offer ourselves to you in prayer. Thank you that we can gather from all over the world and know that you are with us, no matter where we are and what space we are in. And we are reminded that every time we gather, you create a newness and a uniqueness in our gathering. And every time someone joins, we change and alter again. We thank you for this transformation. And we thank you for the time that we'll have together at conference, our transformational time. So be with each one of us as we move towards our time together. Be especially with the staff, Mike and Lauren, all the staff who are contributing to making this conference happen. Be with my fellow elders and with the governing board. And be with each and every attendee. Help us to know your unconditional love from the moment we waken till the moment we go to sleep. Help us to know that we are connected through this love, no matter where we are across the globe. We thank you that we are a truly global denomination. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Maxwell.
Thank you, everyone.
See you all soon.